Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Hello again, viewers, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. I am Philip Sidney, your host. Today, our topic is the discussion with our Honorable Minister with responsible for Agriculture, the Honorable Alfred Prosper, and we are looking at various activities that are happening in the ministry, the successes and ongoing activities as it relates to the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Rural Development. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. As usual, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Minister, Storm Brett gave us a beating, gave the farmers a licking a few months ago. And the banana industry took some blows, the plantain, livestock, fisheries. We were supposed to give some relief to the farmers and fishers. Where we are with this?
Yes, it's suddenly we had tropical storm Brett that impacted the entire agricultural sector. And unfortunately, 75% of our banana and plantain subsectors were devastated. And obviously, you will understand the impact negatively it would have on our farmers. Our farmers have been exporting to the region. Our farmers have been selling locally bananas and plantain. And the impact of the storm would have been a major setback to them. And our government, realizing that, was able to get $2.4 million to assist the farmers. Okay. Now I want to stick up in there to say to the farmers, we are not compensating them for loss or damage. What we are providing is an assistance, some level of assistance, or what you just mentioned, relief, to just help them get back into production. Because we know when you have a plantation of bananas or plantain, and you see all your stems are on the ground, especially those that you would have been harvesting a few weeks from the storm, that would definitely impact you. And obviously, in order for you to get back and to, commence your production, you would have to go in there and you'd have to replant, you'd have to uproot and do what is necessary. And we know at the time when that happens, farmers would be struggling to get the financial resources to do so. So what the government did was to provide some relief, some assistance to enable our farmers to get back to where they were. Okay. And I'm very happy that they've been taking advantage of the opportunity. We have paid up to 90% of the farmers in terms of compensation for bananas and plantain. And we have also done the same for vegetable farmers. We have also compensated almost 100% of farmers who were affected by the infrastructure damage, greenhouse damage, livestock damage. The only subsector that we are yet to begin compensating are the CMOS farmers, who we know lost a lot of the CMOS material, but we are still awaiting some NIC numbers that we need to put in the system for us to begin compensating the CMOS farmers. I'm very happy to see some of the plantations have been showing signs of rapid recovery, and in some cases we have seen a lot of bunches coming out from plantain and banana plantations. This augurs well for us, because in recent weeks there has been a cry about a situation with lack of food.
Yes.
When you go to the supermarket shelves, you don't see plantain, you don't see bananas. But what I want to say is that we still have lots of dashing available. So when I hear some people say we are in a food crisis, I am not certain that we are suffering a food crisis in St. Lucia, although we had a lot of our mangoes and golden apples, in some cases breadfruits and avocados, but we still have a lot around. And so I just want to remind our citizens that this is not the first time we have been in a situation like that. During Hurricane Elsa in 2021, we had the same situation, because once you do not have bananas and plantain, there will definitely be a gap. But I'm certainly sure by the end of November, October, early November, we should be back to normal with plantain and bananas and other crops that we would have not had as a result of the storm. And I'm just hoping that our people can be a little more patient, because it was caused by a natural disaster. And a natural disaster we have no control of. But what I want to do is to go back to the subsidy. So I'm happy that the farmers are receiving the subsidy. And in the same vein, we've provided a 30% subsidy in the sum of $400,000. That is in addition to the 2.4 million to allow farmers to get fertilizer at a much lower cost. And I remember saying recently that we are not producing or giving you the fertilizer free, but we are reducing the cost for you to be able to give you the buying power to be able to get as many as possible. And we have the 250 kg bags of fertilizer that was going for 170 thereabout. They can get it for $109. The small 25 kg bags that was going for about 70, they are getting for 48. And that is in addition to 2 liters of nematicides that we are giving to farmers, both plantain and banana farmers, 2 per acre, to be able to take care of the disease and to ensure that the root system remains healthy, so the absorption of the fertilizers can have effect and can result in high yield and production. So we are going further. We've received 3,975 bags of fertilizer from the government of Morocco. And let me take time on behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia to thank the people of the government and people of Morocco for this annual donation of fertilizer. These fertilizer bags will be given free of charge to our banana farmers. So I'm happy that our government have been able to reach out, and I really wish we could have done a lot more, but we have been able to provide that level of assistance to farmers, and I just want the farmers to take advantage of it, because it is critical that our farmers remain in the sector. It is important for us to continue to increase our food production, grow what we eat and eat what we grow. And if we do not give the farmers the support, it means that we will have a food crisis that will be on our hands, and we will not be able to live well as a country, as a populace who must eat on a day-to-day basis. But in addition, I want to mention the importance of agricultural insurance. You know, there is always this heavy dependency on the government to compensate. But I of the view that if we have an agricultural insurance in place and government can assist with the premium, then whenever there is a disaster, natural disaster that impacts the sector, then the government responsibility will be, we've done what we've done in terms of the premium, let the insurance compensate the farmers. And you will recall we had wind crop during the banana days, and wind crop was responsible for compensating the farmers, and the wind crop has collapsed many years ago, and we do not have anything in terms of compensation for our farmers, fishers, and other persons in the agricultural sector, especially when they are in a crisis situation like what they experienced in June through Tropical Storm Brett. So it's a serious situation, but I'm just happy to see that a lot of the farmers have taken advantage of the assistance that has been afforded to them, and we hope to see the results of that in the next few weeks, months.
On this Creole, parce que ça c'est information qui est bien importante. Storm Brett affecté figue, banane, cachet différents bagages. Dis-nous côté nous y à ça. Qui assistance vous avez ces femmes?
Well, moi voulais dire que nous tous ça maintenant storm qui passé en juin l'année ça là, et que chaque femme a trouvé affecté, especially si femme qui a produit figue et banane. Et nous aussi dans chaque autre monde qui trouvé affecté, monde qui dans greenhouse, monde qui dans caille, monde qui a produit animaux, monde qui a produit légumes, et Jean Simos qui a produit Simos, parce que nous savons la mer était mauvais et qui a affecté chaque ces monde ça là. Gouvernement Saint-Lucie apprécié et comprendre situation ces femmes te aller fou et nous immédiatement by farmer 2.4 million, ma fè regarder pas toi, assistant pour by farmer en support. Et mon vle farmer comprendre, gouvernement pas bay l'argent pour payer pour dommage. Parce que le gouvernement n'a pas gagné l'argent pour payer pour chaque plan FIC qui tombe et puis chaque régime FIC qui tombe. Mais nous savons poser un système pour vivre, commencer, pour réhabiliter plantation, pour acheter plan FIC, pour payer travailler. Et que nous croyons que c'est important pour garantir un système. Parce que là, ça fait. Moi-même, c'est un farmer. Et moi, ça là où il y a un bagage comme ça. Là où il bat tes figures, où il bat tes bananes, où il bat tes légumes, où il besoin de sel, parce que sel là est important pour bailler plantation, bourse là est besoin, parce que vent détruit, vent fait malade. On est pour bailler manger, pour vivre. Et puis c'est ça le gouvernement fait. Et puis nous aussi, ouais, il est nécessaire pour nous te bailler un assistant pour sel. Et puis nous faire un arrangement avec NFTO. Avec NFTO ni $400,000 le gouvernement Kaibali, puis ça baille fama 2 sacs sel par ac, et pour baille fama 2 litres validés par ac. Ça c'est pour ni fama banane, ni fama figue. Et nous quoi ça c'est un bon bagage. Mais aussi gouvernement Morocco baille en donation pour un gouvernement c'est ici pour fama 3,995 sacs sel that nous gagne buy farmer free of charge. Nous pas payer pour ça là. Moi crois ça c'est un bon bagage pour l'industrie, moi crois ça c'est un bon bagage pour le secteur agricole là because nous ca dépend à laisser farmer ça là pour payer à manger. Et si ces farmer ça là pas un si poids, il est difficile pour produire manger et nous même si nous pas joindre manger, nous ca souffrir. So moi voulais farmer comprendre ça c'est un bon bagage pour eux. Et puis moi voulais prendre l'avantage de ça. Là moi passé na drive en ces côtés en ouais en chasse plantation fig là. Chasse plantation banane là à Caviller et puis nous voulons continuer production ça là pour nous ça continuer pour l'avantage sur market là nous ni en région pour fig nous. Avec banane nous aussi. Et puis pour nous ça produit assez manger cette ici. Sur là nous aller en ce supermarket là, nous gagne là ni banane, nous gagne là ni fig. Mais ma vle moun quoi ça c'est une situation côté la panne moyen côté c'est un bail qui fait première fois depuis nous ni en storm nous ni en désastre nous avons souffert pour yon des 10 mois mais moi ga hope bail bon finissement octobre pour aller novembre nous avons vie naturelle nous avons savoir tout ces manger ça vie aller supermarket shelves.
There's a point that is very important, and that's pretty lasting to now. And I heard something that's very frightening, Mr. Minister. Some of the farmers are very upset with what's happening. And of course, the bananas is green gold now, but fellas are stealing the bananas. And I heard they're putting pins in the bananas. That is dangerous, you know. That tells you, you know. I mean, I heard so recently, you know, and it's happening. I was told
it's a sad situation, and the pre-generation unit is very critical to this agricultural sector. But with 14 officers only, it is never, or it will never be sufficient to secure the agricultural sector in terms of, you know, the farmers and produce. I believe what is important for us to do is, whilst we are focusing on Priya Lassini as a team of persons in the ministry, we need to establish what we call watch groups. So you have on a weekend, let's say MAC, you have a watch group. If it comprises maybe 20 farmers in the area, those farmers would organize a system of monitoring and observing, and they may have a system where they do it, maybe 3 farmers or 4 farmers on a weekend in the morning by a certain time in the evening, and they can work closer with the pre-deal lasting unit. Yes. But just imagine if the pre-deal lasting unit has 14 people, 1 in Denver, 1 in Mico, 1 in Pale, and then the rest of the country will never, just like the police force.
It's difficult.
You must work together with the communities, the farmers groups, to bring that joint effort together so we can strategize more in terms of dealing with this problem.
Yes, very important.
It's a major problem.
Yes. Anyway, we're due for a break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is placing heavy emphasis on the concept of food security. It's our prosperity, our future. The Farmer Incentives Program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is aimed at reducing the cost of production and promoting food security and accessibility. All farmers, fishers and agro-processors who've registered and own a farmer's registration card qualify. These incentives include the percentage reduction of excise tax and import duties for agricultural and fisheries production inputs which are imported. These include approved agricultural products for an approved agricultural project, for example, vehicles, fishing vessels, animals, animal feed, planting materials, and other farm inputs. Farmers can apply by completing the application form and submitting with all relevant documents attached. For further information, contact the Deputy Director of Agricultural Services at 468-4125.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, if you're tuning in now with me, my guest, the Honorable Alfred Prosper, the Minister with responsibility for agriculture. Mr. Minister, I know you traveled recently and there was an OECS meeting that was held and looked at agriculture strategy. Tell us about this.
This meeting is called the OECS Council of Ministers of Agriculture in the OECS. Well, it's OECS Council of Ministers of Agriculture. So it's really all the ministers of agriculture in the OECS coming together to discuss the whole issue of agriculture in the OECS, food production, food security, etc., etc. And this OECS Council of Ministers is being guided by what we call a strategy called the Food and Agricultural Systems Transformation Strategy. This strategy was developed by the OECS and the OECS countries to look at what we call 7 pillars. I can't remember all the pillars, but I remember clearly that we have agricultural insurance, private sector engagement, climate smart agriculture, and some other areas that we are focusing on to address the whole issue of food production in the OECS. And we believe that it is time that the region, the OECS, must come together under one umbrella as against operating in silo. So in the last few months, we have had 3 meetings, one in Grenada and 2 in St. Vincent. And it was really to discuss the whole issue of the FAST strategy and how we can implement it to address those problems. We are of the view that by 2050, I'm not sure if I'll still be alive, there may be a global food crisis. And we think that this is an opportune time for the region to come together and work towards implementation of that strategy. One of the highlights of the meeting that I attended in St. Vincent is the whole regional cooperation that is needed among all players to be able to deal with all the issues confronting the sector. An example, when we had bananas, we had a marketing entity that was responsible for marketing all our bananas. The responsibility of the farmers was to ensure that you establish your plantations, get your right quality, and that entity was responsible for export to the UK. But now we do not have any entity that is doing that for bananas, nor for any of the other crops that are being produced. And we think it is important that we engage the private sector to see how we can get an entity. For example, I will say that entity is responsible for CMOS exports. So our farmers now who are into CMOS production will know that my role is to get the CMOS, get it at the quality and standard, etc. And that entity will do everything that is necessary to take it to the market and get me my money. So we were discussing all of that and looking at how this can work in the region. And not just for bananas, not just for CMOS, but for livestock, for other crops like cassava, for other crops like pineapple, soursop, breadfruit, cocoa. That was a discussion that we were having, and we thought it was necessary for us to establish an entity around marketing our produce in the OECS and in the region. So this strategy, FAST strategy, what we have done to ensure that we increase our implementation rate, we have established an entity in St. Vincent called the Food and Nutrition Security Center. And what that center will do is to look at the strategy and coordinate the implementation of the activities in the strategy. So St. Lucia had to identify a point person, just like Grenada, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis Antigua, where that point person will be responsible for implementation at the local level and feeding that information to the Food and Nutrition Security Center in St. Vincent. So we've been meeting regularly. We have another meeting coming up, I think, in Bahamas in the next 2 weeks to really continue that discussion. And it's the first time since I became a minister we've seen the OECS Ministers of Agriculture coming together on a regular basis and discussing the issues of food production, food insecurity in the region.
Is there a timeline to that?
Well, this strategy surprisingly has been in existence for almost 10 years, but very little has been achieved. And we as ministers, we believe we have the onus is on us to be able to report to our farmers, to our ministries, to our people in terms of our role when we go out there and represent our people. And we were very concerned that very little was happening, and we were feeling guilty that we were going to those meetings, but very little achievement, very slow implementation. And I want to take time to say thank you to the OECS Director General for their support in helping push and implement this strategy. We are hoping that in the next few weeks we can engage our cabinet colleagues and to educate and sensitize them on this strategy and its roles and importance, and so that in the future CARICOM will have this strategy as one of the agenda items on the table to be able to push and to be able to get the funding to ensure that we do what we need to do. But our region needs to come together under one umbrella to be able to achieve what we as a region needs to do in terms of food security. One final thing on the strategy is that what we've seen is that each country has its strengths and weaknesses. For example, St. Lucia is the only country that is still into banana production and CMOS. Dominica is well known for its root crops. St. Vincent, livestock, and the cannabis. So we are saying it is important for us to be able to work into each other and each other support each other, so that we can really move the agricultural sector in the region to a better place, and to be able to address all our food import bill and everything to do with the whole management and efficiency of the sector to be able to meet our food.
I suppose Export St. Lucia is in the center of that.
Export St. Lucia is critical, and Ms. Sunita Daniel, in our last meeting in St. Vincent, she made a presentation that really sensitized all the Ministers of Agriculture there in terms of the availability of markets, you know, for exports of our produce in the region, outside of the region, sorry. And a lot of the countries they were excited because they too were not even aware that a lot of those markets were available. So what we have to do is to create a platform, and for those persons who may not be aware, Reno has been doing very well in St. Vincent, where he purchased all the produce from the farmers, and within a few minutes after you sell your produce to him, you get your money right away. But in St. Lucia, a lot of our farmers are suffering because they have to wait weeks and months to get the money. I wish we would be able to have something like that happening in St. Lucia, but I know there will be implications because you have the marketing board and other entities who are already buying from the farmers. I'm not sure, but this is going on well in St. Vincent, and other countries are looking at that. Dominica is currently engaging the authorities in Haiti to see how they can import laborers into Dominica. Because farm labor is becoming a major problem, not just in St. Lucia, but in the region. And some of those countries are already looking at the possibility of bringing workers into the countries to work on the farms.
Great. Okay, let's change gear a bit. Our fishers. We had an establishment of the Lucian Blue Ocean, that were assisting buying the farmers' fish. That had some issues. Where are we to deal with this?
Yes, and it's a situation that worries me quite a bit, but we've made some progress. The cabinet, a memo was presented to the cabinet in terms of where do we go with Lucian Blue Ocean, and under the lease agreement, we had the Dennery facility, that is the Dennery fishing facility, the Viewfort Fishing Facility and the Sanssouci facility. So there were 3 facilities in that lease agreement. We've taken a decision to remove Dennery, remove Viewfort from the agreement, and so Lucia Blue only stands with the Sanssouci facility. We also understood the challenges, financial challenges that the facility was going through, and the government made a request to the National Economic Fund for a $1.5 million loan for the facility to continue operating, and as a result, I know we've done work to the tune of about $400,000 to upgrade the electricals at the facility. There was an outstanding amount owed to Fishers, close to $100,000 that has been paid, and there was also some outstanding electricity bills that, which some payments have been made. I am hoping that the rest of the funds will be able to assist in being able to open the facility, get the ice machine and the other equipment there running and working, and for the facility to reopen to the fishers. It hurts to see every day the fishers have to go out there on the roads to sell fish simply because they don't have a facility to sell. And we must never forget the facility was established for the fishers. So sometimes when you go around, you're hearing people saying that why should government be giving money to reopen the facility, but we must remember the bigger picture. Our fishers go out there and sometimes they get back to the port very late, and it is not a good thing to see that in the early morning next day or the same night they have to be on the road selling the fish. So if the facility is recommissioned, reopened, our fishers will be more comfortable going out there and coming back anytime because they know the Fish Marketing Corporation will buy the fish.
Quickly, you have 2 more minutes left. Cocoa. Quickly.
Cocoa. And every time I mention cocoa, it brings the whole question of diversification into my head. Because we have been heavily dependent on bananas, and we seem to think bananas on its own will address all the problems in the sector and in the country. I believe there is a need for us to diversify, and just recently with the experience with Tropical Storm Brett, the bananas went down to a low 75%. But if we had the cocoa, we would still continue to benefit our farmers, we would still be able to harvest. What is significant about this cocoa project is that we have a market available to us in the UK and we cannot meet the demand.
Right.
Cocoa fetches a high price, but we do not have the demand. And I believe our soils, we have enough land space to increase our cocoa production and to ensure our farmers continue to earn a livelihood from cocoa. So I was very happy that the government, which I'm part of, approved $1.4 million EC to expand the cocoa subsector. I am hoping that more farmers will go into cocoa. We are hoping that the farmers who already have cocoa plantations will be able to go in there and prune and do the necessary practices to boost yield and production. And we are making available about 1 million cocoa seedlings to make available to farmers, including other assistance like provision of rat baits and assistance to be able to fertilize. I am hoping that we can see a massive change in the cocoa sector that will, at the end of the day, benefit us. I know on World Food Day, we are going to have a cocoa festival, and I'm hoping to see quite a bit being made from our cocoa. There is tremendous opportunity, possibilities for enhancing and upgrading and expanding our agro processing subsector through cocoa and other products and commodities we have in St. Lucia. So I'm very happy and I'm hoping that we can see a massive revamp of the whole cocoa sector in St. Lucia.
Mr. Minister, I want to thank you for being here because we have come to the end of the program, and I wish you will continue to do what you're doing to ensure that the farmers get what is due to them, especially in the relief, and of course the cocoa program is coming on stream. And so I want to thank you for being here. You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. I want to thank you again for viewing the program. And of course, just to tell you, our Cocoa Festival will be on the 15th of October in Soufrière. You'll hear more about it in the coming weeks, so that be prepared. It's going to be a massive expo for St. Lucia. Cocoa is a very good product, and there are a lot of people that are making a livelihood in cocoa. Thank you again for viewing. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye, and see you again. Thank you, sir.
Agriculture on the Move. Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.